Title of my talk today is Freedom Within Our Experience, Not From It. And I'm going to start with a quote from Sue Hamilton. She wrote the book Early Buddhism, A New Approach, The Eye of the Beholder. It's a very dense book. I don't give it a high recommendation as a light read, but it is it's very descriptive and quite engaging. So here's a quote from Sue. As human beings, not only is experience the most fundamental thing we have in common with each other, but it's also the case that we do not have access to anything other than our own experience. We are characterized by being subjectively experiencing beings. And the exemplary nature of the Buddha is emphasized by the fact that the focus of his teachings is experience. So in reflective meditation, we talk a lot about experience. Your experience during the meditation, your experience afterwards, your experience of reflecting on it, your experience speaking about your experience to another human being. Our practice is deeply experience focused. And while this aligns with Sue Hamilton's translations of early Buddhist teachings, not everyone finds the focus appealing. Not all Buddhists, not all friends, not all strangers. And I say this because sometimes when someone tells me something that they don't like, or they just can't be with, or they don't want, I might ask, oh, how are you with that? How are you handling that? And I mean it sincerely when I ask it. I'm genuinely curious about how people navigate their experience when they're depressed or averse or resistant. And sometimes I find people are happy to share more about this, and other times I just get a look like, I just told you how I was. What do you mean? So, what are we talking about when we say experience? And I'm going to use Nelly's definition from her glossary at the back of our book, Reflective Meditation, Cultivating Kindness and Curiosity in the Buddhist Company. So this is what she says about contact. When your eyes, ears, hands, feet, tongue, nose, and mind contact something, experience develops. You might like what you contact, or you might find it off-putting. You might not care one way or another. All kinds of actions develop in reaction to this. So experience comes from contact. And I think I can say this, that there's no contact, there's no experience. And contact is a really big playing field. It's not just limited to what you can see, taste, hear, smell, feel. It includes our thoughts, imaginations, speculations, memories, ideas. And that is why, in a sense, it's very hard to debate somebody else's experience. And I think this is a very good point about Buddhism, why we don't get into debates, or we try not to get into strong debates, is because somebody's experience is valid. And we want to look at it as to how they're experiencing it, We lean towards understanding experience rather than trying to fix it, debate it, and validate it. So, we often ask, how is our experience conditioned? It's not like the experience stands alone. We want to know more, how does it arise? How can it become more trustworthy? And that's a really important question about our experience. I think, because that's really the development of our practice, is for our experience to evolve, be refined, become more trustworthy. So in the definition, Nelly says, and when there's contact, there's usually some kind of reaction. So it brings me to another glossary entry. Reactivity. Your heart pounds, your breath tightens, you break out in a cold sweat. You say things you wished you hadn't said. You'd like to eliminate reactivity, which some Buddhist teachers consider to be liberation. We say, be curious about what you react to. Something really matters to you here. And that last line, it always gets me. Something really matters to you. It's always stood out for me. And it reorients reactivity from something that we want to get rid of, that liberation or freedom comes from getting rid of reactivity, to something we're going to be learning from. We're going to be learning more from our reactions. And in reflective meditation, that's why we don't edit them out. We sit with them, we reflect more upon them, we talk about them. In doing so, we create conditions for a different kind of freedom. Not freedom from reactions, but freedom within the experience of reacting. So one of my familiar reactions is, I don't wanna. I just don't wanna. It's been with me since early on. And it's a tricky one. It's hard to trust, and it's hard to work with at times. And really, it can feel like a burden. It's the opposite of freedom. Just yesterday, while my husband and I were hiking, which we already debate on, I like to call it walking. He likes to call it hiking, so we have to be very careful there where we're going. But this phrase, I don't want to, just resurfaced with every incline over 20 degrees. Just any uphill, I don't want to. It practically took over the hike. And when my husband suggested a new exercise program for me to get help with hills, I questioned my marriage. So that is how quickly reaction comes, fast and furious. And ironically, I didn't really realize till I was writing the talk, I forgot to be curious about how I was reacting to my reaction there. It didn't even occur to me. And probably if he asked me, I would have also not gone over very well. So the freedom, though, didn't arrive during the hike. So here's this kind of within the experience. It came later. And this is what it sometimes does, is the experience doesn't end with the experience. It keeps going on. And later I was able to remember, I've been through this many times. I know. Freedom doesn't show up on demand when I want it within certain experience, but I really do trust that it will come eventually, and really unpredictably. It's not always the same. So I'll end with, we don't have to wait until we're more patient, or the world behaves better or more decently, or until we're in the right mood. And we don't need to be fully healed or perfectly mindful for our practice. We can begin with things just as they are, and with our resistance and all. I'll end here this morning.